Hello and welcome to The Whole Equation. All stories have the same fundamental problem. Whether you're making a film or telling a story around a campfire, the issue is the same. How do you keep the audience from getting bored?
Got room for one more?
One of my strengths is my storytelling,
Yeah.
because I actually am committing to telling a story.
And one of the masters of modern Hollywood storytelling is Quentin Tarantino.
I just like, I like it when somebody tells me a story, and I actually really feel that that's becoming like a lost art.
Tarantino's films are often long, usually over 2.5 hours, and yet they rarely drag or outstay their welcome. Tarantino manages to maintain the audience's interest because he understands what all great storytellers understand, that plot is information, and the storyteller's job is to carefully reveal it. Tarantino's early films often started with a cold open.
Garçon, coffee.
Usually people sitting around a table talking.
The lights went out and Georgia came on.
More recently, he's found different ways to start. For example, with a close-up of the bride in Kill Bill, or Samuel L. Jackson sat alone on the snowy mountain pass in The Hateful Eight. However, what these films have in common is that they drop us into a situation which we know nothing about. And Tarantino isn't in a rush to get us up to speed.
We told a really good
Right,
story,
right.
We're the worst at it now, as far as I'm concerned.
At
All right.
telling a story.
Telling a story. We don't tell a story, we tell a situation.
There's $200 million in the basement vault beneath the strip. I want you to put together a team and get it out.
A good majority of movies that come out, all right, you pretty much know everything you're going to see in the movie by the first 10 or 20 minutes. Now, that's not a story. A story is something that constantly unfolds.
Good storytellers know, if you tell the audience everything interesting immediately, they have no reason to stick around.
Audiences, as long as they're in good hands, they like being curious. They don't like to be told everything. They can wait if they think, it's not a mistake, if they think it's on purpose.
Who's that stumbling around in the dark?
On occasion, Tarantino is fairly explicitly setting up a mystery, such as in The Hateful Eight.
While Major Warren was captivating the crowd with tales of black dicks in white mouths, somebody poisoned the coffee.
However, Tarantino applies this idea consistently in his films,
I've got Madonna's big dick coming out of my left ear.
even those we might not think of as mysteries. Take, for example, the start of Reservoir Dogs, which cuts from the diner scene to Mr. Orange with a gunshot wound in the car. We, the audience, have no idea what's happened, which arouses our curiosity and makes us keen to find out what's going to happen next. The other difference between Tarantino and a lesser storyteller can be illustrated if we look at a film like True Romance, which Tarantino wrote but didn't direct. Tony Scott, the director, changed the non-linear structure of Tarantino's script so that it was told chronologically. The released version starts with Clarence and Alabama meeting. Clarence then kills Alabama's pimp, and they steal a suitcase full of drugs. They flee to Clarence's father's house, and then to LA, where they try and sell the drugs. The problem with telling the story like this is that the plot is reduced to a series of events to be retold.
If you tell a story that's and then they, and then, and that, you're in big trouble.
The difference is, Tarantino treats plot not as a series of events to be retold, but as information to be revealed to the audience. This is why Tarantino often favours non-linear storytelling, where we're dropped into the middle of the action, arousing our curiosity, and only gradually, through dialogue and flashback, we build up a picture of the preceding events.
Let's go through what happened.
There was a heist. The police show up and some of the gang were killed. Mr. Pink got away with the diamonds, and Mr. Yellow went crazy after the alarm was tripped and killed a lot of people.
Bam! Yeah, bam, 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 bam.
They think they've been set up. So while Tarantino gives us some information, which keeps us engaged with the plot, he is also setting up the larger question. Who is the rat?
Mr. Blue? Mr. Brown? Joe?
One alternative way to think about Tarantino's approach to plot is to consider how much does the audience know compared to the characters.
You kids shouldn't play so rough. Somebody's gonna start crying.
In Tarantino's original script for True Romance, he tells the story non-linearly, dropping us straight into the scene at Clarence's father's house.
Now, how the structure really affects us in a big way, the biggest difference is we don't know Clarence's story. We don't know exactly any of the whys of the wherefores about how he met Alabama, how he ended up taking the cocaine or anything. It's all just very sketchy.
Unfortunately, Tarantino's version of True Romance will never be seen, but the same idea applies in Reservoir Dogs.
The way that 3-act structure was supposed to work was this. The first act. Everybody in the movie knows so much more than we do. All the characters know what they're talking about. We don't know what they're talking about. All the characters know what they did. We don't. All right? Everybody in the movie is way ahead of the audience.
However, at some point, the questions raised in the opening need resolution. Tarantino usually does this in the middle act, where we catch up with the characters.
Stop! All right, I did it. It was me. I poisoned the coffee. I fucking knew it!
By answering questions, it changes the dynamic of the film from hinging around mystery to suspense.
Get in the fucking car!
You see, mystery is an intellectual process, like in a whodunit. But suspense is essentially an emotional process.
This change in dynamic is important, as mystery on its own can feel empty, whereas suspense, built to a climax, is far more emotionally satisfying. Tarantino achieves this by revealing more and more information as the plot progresses. For example, in Reservoir Dogs, we find out Mr. Orange is the rat.
The audience now knows more than the characters. The audience is so much more hipper about what's going on and what's happening than any one of the characters in the movie.
You can only get the suspense element going by giving the audience information.
In the finale, this suspense is dialed up to the extreme, as we know Mr. Orange is the rat.
That lump of shit's working with the LAPD.
But Mr. White continues to defend him.
What you talking about?
Joe, I don't know what you think you know, but you're wrong.
But of course, being Quentin Tarantino, he resolves this tension in the only way he knows how.
You are real, right?